Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs as we talk yet another 2 episodes of Marvel's Iron Fist. And these 2 episodes, again, are just more establishing stories and actually resolving previous arcs. So, as people might remember at the very end, Danny was basically plummeting to his death. We then find out that Ward actually caught up with him, knew he was following, so he actually kicked him off the building. And Danny then wakes up in episode 4 in Harold Meacham's apartment, speaking with Harold Meacham. And we get a little bit of background, but a lot of it is kind of told in a somewhat deceptive way. Because of his impending death, Harold Meacham actually reached out for anybody who could possibly cure the cancer that he was dealing with. And he actually got a response from the Hand. And the Hand said, yeah, we can heal you, but you're going to have to die first, and that's going to create some issues, but from there on, you serve us. So he did as they asked, and one of the prices was that now Rand is officially involved in some of the activities that the Hand is carrying out throughout New York City. So they are under the direct control of Madame Gao, and Harold kind of approaches this to Danny as if he's a victim, as if he's on his side. We still kind of question because it's a weird kind of thing. We've seen this guy be evil, and Danny actually takes on the task of trying to figure out the infestation or the corruption of Rand from within, and that's what he's going to do with a lot of his 51% of the company. And so episode 4 is more of a adjustment into his new life as kinda CEO of Rand Enterprises. He's a 51% shareholder, so at that point he gets to control the direction of the company. And this is actually shown when he goes into a meeting that is about an upcoming drug that they're about to release into Eastern Europe, Asia, all of those places, and we're actually looking to make profits off of it. And because of his upbringing in the monastery, Danny Rand just looks at them and goes, no, we're going to sell these at cost, which in turn irritates everybody in that meeting, but it does make sense for Danny Rand, given what he's gone through in his life, is that, if you have this life-saving drug, you don't necessarily worry about the profits. Although I will say this, Bruce Wayne probably would have handled that a little bit better. Probably same thing with Tony Stark, but it's part of the episode is just his adjustment back into the corporate life, actually trying to run Rand Enterprises along with Ward and Joy, but at the same time knowing about Harold and also fulfilling a promise where Harold has asked that Joy not know he's still alive. So Danny has to keep this secret. But we also find out another problem with Joy. So a couple of episodes, she made that pier deal. Well, it just so happens that the Triads were running out of that pier, and they're not happy about it, so they actually go to physically threaten Joy. What they don't know is that Danny Rand knows Kung Fu, and that blows up in their face. He basically sends them packing back to wherever they were, and in turn, he actually sends Joy to Colleen Wing's dojo to be taken care of, at least until he handles that problem, because he also thinks that this might be associated with the Rand corruption. So he goes to the Chinese restaurant that the Triads are hiding out in, and finds out that these guys are Triads and all, but they are scared shitless of the Hand. And for right reason. We've seen the Hand do some horrible, horrible things in Daredevil. And in fact, if you've read the comics, they're a pretty nasty organization. And their folklore, as far as Danny is concerned, he as the Iron Fist is supposed to fight against the Hand. So at that point, the episode kind of ends with him trying to gather information, but he doesn't really get anything, with the Hand personally visiting the Triads to make sure that they don't get involved ever again, but with an added twist. Madame Gao has gone to visit with Harold again, and he gets a tiny reward for at least a little bit of his servitude getting the pier, and he gets to see Joy. He hasn't seen Joy in a while, and then he noticed she's been hurt. And he personally asks to go to the Triads restaurant to kill off the man that punched Joy. And then at that point says, yeah, I'm very much a loyal servant of the Hand. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. That then leads into, then episode 4 basically ends with Danny getting a mysterious delivery in a mysterious box with a weird logo that looks familiar to Danny. Episode 5 then begins with him trying to explain, I know this logo, I know what's going on here, it is the hand, and we need to get involved with this. He tries to tell this to Ward. Ward's not really buying it, but Ward's also getting kind of fed up with the whole Harold thing, so much so that he actually just starts doing actions that are in opposite response to what Harold wants him to do, trying to run the company from the shadows. And you kind of feel for Ward at that point, because Ward has been basically a puppet this entire time, and now he's wanting to cut the strings. So it's actually a satisfying moment to watch him try and flip off all the cameras that might be in his office, trying to make sure that he's staying in line. Joy isn't necessarily involved that much in this episode, aside from the connection to the pier. But Colleen is, because, well, while Danny is hunting down this connection, the logo that he got was for Zhao Hao the Undying. And this is not a good sign to him, so he feels like he needs that extra little bit of backup. What makes this worse is that Rand has a new problem. The Hand are basically manufacturing a new type of heroin that is easy to make, 100% pure, and actually not able to gain, like, your body's not able to gain any kind of tolerance to it. So now Danny is not only looking into the Hand, but he's also looking into this heroin, because he doesn't want his company responsible for drug dealings and things like that. With that also, we get a little subplot that Joy and Ward are dealing with a lawsuit concerning a Rand chemical plant, not in New York, somewhere else, and a lawsuit that's happening where kids and also employees are getting cancer from that plant. And obviously, Ward and Joy kind of blow that off because they're typical businessmen, but then they decide to go approach Danny, or at least the mother of a child does, and asks for his help. And he's a compassionate soul. He doesn't have the business sense or savvy that Ward or Joy do. And that's kind of the catch-22 for the viewer, is that you feel for this mother, but you also see Joy and Ward's kind of approach to this is that, if they literally start doing handouts and whatever, it doesn't really work that way. They can't continue to do that and continue to stay in business. Danny doesn't know that, though, and Danny is still a compassionate soul. The sad part is that the lawyer actually tapes the conversation with the mother and Danny and makes it go viral on the internet to push him further, or push Ward's frustration even further. And in fact, Ward uses that against Harold. And then we have a little subplot with Colleen where she's continuing to do the fighting, or the black market fighting, whatever you want to call it, like the underground UFC kind of thing, and getting paid for it. She's not very happy about it. It doesn't really follow the code of Bushido. But Danny tries to comfort her while also asking her to help him go to the pier and figure out how the drugs are getting in so that they can stop that. It's then that we find out Colleen has a new student. Claire. The nurse from Daredevil, the nurse from Jessica Jones, and the nurse from Luke Cage. So here's the universal connection that brings them all together to form the Defenders. Here is Claire. And Claire's actually trying to learn to fight because she's sick and tired of only patching up wounds. She wants to be able to defend herself. And then she gets to meet Danny. And Danny's still, very much somebody she's already met before. He's very much Mad Murdock. He's very much Luke Cage at the very least. I don't know about Jessica, but he's very much there. And he tries to bring Colleen to help him, or tries to get Colleen to help him with the whole drug bust. We then have the whole stealth operation to try and figure out what's going on there, where Danny gets onto one of the Rand trucks and finds the actual scientist who is making this new heroin and tries to get him out of that situation, but unfortunately not undamaged. He actually does get hurt. They bring him back to Colleen to save the scientist's life. And that's where Danny begins to learn about the Hand, and that they are an evil organization of evilness, and that he needs to actually stop them. And that's where Claire actually kind of craps herself, because, oh crap, I'm in the situation with yet another hero who is not going to stop, even though I've seen what the Hand can do. I've seen armies of ninjas come at me. I've seen an entire hospital get thrown under the thrall of Kilgrave. I've also seen what's happened to Luke Cage with his fights with the mob. This is not a good situation, but I'll be there to help out. And so I actually like that Claire's kind of the connection that brings them all together to form the Defenders. But that's pretty much the rough end of the 2 episodes. It's Danny's transition into the corporate world. It's having his constant mistakes with Rand Enterprises. It's also with Ward very much frustrated dealing with Harold. It's Joy kind of realizing that maybe she might not be on the up and up in the business anymore. Colleen is constantly dealing with the struggle of, should I still continue to do these fights or not? And then now we have Claire added into the mix of just yet another hero that she's going to have to pick up the pieces after he's done. So that's going to go ahead and do this vlog. Do it for this vlog. I know that this has been a little bit shorter than usual. I know some people have been asking them to be shorter, but as much as I want to say, like, the tiny other little situations that happen throughout these episodes, I'm still trying to stay on point with the plot and what they're trying to do with it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for continuing to subscribe, like, doing all the awesome stuff that you guys do for my channel. And of course, I'll be back next Monday for even more on the channel. So I'll see you next time for the next video.